and welcome to my YouTube channel. I've come to Glencoe Lochan because about 4 weeks ago there was a report in the newspapers that the plug had been pulled in the loch and there was no water left. So join me and let's see where this journey takes us. Well, we've made it, and I'm just setting up my camera. There's starting to get a spit of rain, but hopefully it doesn't come to anything. So this is the first time I've been to Glencoe Lochan where there's been hardly any water in it. So 4 weeks ago the loch had been completely drained of water, and the reason it was drained of water is the sluice gate here had rocks underneath it, so it couldn't close, and by the time the engineers got to it, that was it. All the water was out the loch. So now, just through natural attrition, rainwater, the loch's slowly starting to fill up, but the levels are still very, very low. So what I'm going to do is, there's a couple of islands which I've never seen like this before. I'm going to zoom in and focus in on the islands, and I'm going to take some shots. And then what we'll do is, I'll walk my way around, and we'll take different compositions for different areas as we go around the loch, and yeah, I'll catch up with you soon. Alright, so I'm just going to keep walking round. I took a couple of shots of the islands there. I had to put on my polarizer, and I put on an ND grad as well because of the sky. So what I'll do is, as I'm walking and talking, I'll share those images with you. And if I turn the camera around, there we go. Oh, there's a sign there that says please stay off the mud flats, which are very soft. The lochhead will be slowly refilled in due course. Alright, so I'll keep walking round. There's an old platform over there that we used to stand on. But I'm going to stop here because there's a nice composition with the two islands. And as you can see, there's space between the two islands there, so that helps my composition. It could be a nice vertical because you've got some nice clouds touching the mountains in the background. But yeah, I'll get set up and I'll catch back with you soon. Alright, so I'm going to take a couple of shots here. What I'm doing is I'm doing a zoom in shot, and as I mentioned earlier, there's separation between the two islands, and that gives me a channel to go towards the mountains. So I'm going to do a wide panoramic, a wide angle shot, then I'm going to zoom in and get a close-up shot, then I'm going to turn the camera around to portrait mode, and I'll do a zoom shot and a wide shot just so you can see the difference and what's the best composition, because the panoramic shot, the portrait shot might make quite a nice square crop, especially with the islands and the mountains in the background. And what I'll also do is I'll just scan round and I'll take shots more for reference, so like a record picture of the debris of all the rocks and the mud, the wall, which I've never seen before. In fact, I've never been able to stand here before because the water's always been back at the shoreline there. So this is really, really unique. So I'm also going to do a panoramic. So I'm going to do a panoramic and I'll stitch about 4 or 5 images together. And once I've finished all that, I'll share those images with you now. Alright, so before I leave this location, I'm just going to drop the camera down low and get a different perspective, because we always tend as photographers to come up to a place and use your eye level and take a shot. So what I'm trying to do here is go down low, and what I'm trying to do is zoom in. But I want to use, there's like an old muck pile in front of me here, and I want to use that as a bit of foreground so that you can see the shoreline, and we'll start to see the patterns with the dry mud in front of us. But use that as a leading line because that's right in the centre of the gap between the islands. So I'm rather hoping that would be quite nice. Right, so if I turn it over to vertical or portrait and I take a similar shot, that's really nice, because what I'm trying to do is get a little bit of blurriness in the foreground, but then I'm shooting at f11, so it should be quite detailed for me. And if I need to, I can use that as a square crop. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to zoom in as far as I can, because this is a 24-70. I'll take that shot, and what my real concentration is on is my settings for the clouds, because the clouds are actually really nice and they're giving us a lot of atmosphere. So the danger is I brighten up the image so that I've got the trees all bright, even though we've got a flat light because there's no sun. I want to adjust my f-stop and I want to adjust my shutter speed while I'm retaining ISO 100 to get the real atmosphere at the clouds if I possibly can. So I'll take a couple more shots here, I'll look for different compositions and I'll share those images with you now. I've got this composition where I've got the wee island on the right hand side, and then you can see right to the very end of the loch where all the mud is, where there's no water level yet, and you've got the trees at the end. So my composition is the island with that view right in front of me, but my focal point, I'm focusing in on the trees at the very end because I want to get a really sharp image. I've got a third of a second f11 and ISO 100, so hopefully that turns out. It could be quite nice. It's the light keeps changing all the time, so whilst there's no sun, there's some dark clouds and light clouds, and there's a wee bit of blue sky above me breaking through, so the light conditions are changing. So that could mean that all the images you see could have different tones in them tonight, but we'll see. So what I'll do is I'll play about and I'll take a couple of other photos. I'll try a vertical shot and see if that works. There's the Papa Glencoe's up on my right hand side, but there's a branch in front of it. So what I'll do is I'll take that shot as I walk further round when I eventually reach that platform I mentioned earlier. Alright, so as we're walking along, I took some shots back there just before I left because I was just trying out a wee experiment, because normally in photography there's a lot of rules and rule of thirds and framing, but there was a bush in front of the camera and I thought, oh, I'll use the bottom of the camera, I'll use the bush kind of to frame the image. So I've taken 2 or 3 shots, so I'll share those images with you and you can let me know if you like them or not. But I've actually arrived at the pontoon, and there's obviously tape over the front of it to stop you from walking on it. But this is the pontoon where we've had our photos in the past, where we've stood floating in the water and you've got the Papa Glencoe mountain in the backdrop. So I'll share an old image that I've taken, and yeah, you can see the difference. It's probably, I don't know if this is going to be a once in a lifetime, but it's the first time I've ever seen anything like this, particularly in this area. And then to see the water coming back in, but even although there's still some mud and the levels are still really, really low, it's pretty cool actually. So what I'll do is I'll take a couple of shots here and I'll catch up soon. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm taking a close shot of the pontoon, and then this kind of pontoon jetty is actually on hinges, so when the water goes up and down, so does the jetty. But what I'm doing here from a composition point of view is I've got the jetty straight in the bottom of my image, and as I'm shooting out, I've got the Papa Glencoe mountain up on my top right hand side, and I've got the islands in the middle. And I'm taking a wide shot here. I've got f11, a fourth of a second, and ISO 100. And that could make a really nice image. So what I'll do now is I'm just going to zoom in a little bit further, because what I want to try and do is just isolate that island, but still have the Papa Glencoe in the image. And yeah, it could be, it's a nice shot. It's not going to be an amazing shot just because of the way the light is tonight. However, it's certainly nice, and because there's the wind's starting to pick up, so I'm getting a lot of movement in the water. But when I look at some of the islands, because the water level's so low, I'm getting actually quite a nice reflection, and I'm really hoping that turns out. Right, so what I'll do is I'm going to take a couple of shots at different angles and different islands, and then I might do a vertical just to see if that works, especially with this island in front of me, because I've got a really nice reflection in the water. And then once I've finished, I'll share those images with you now. Alright, so let's move on and try and find another location as we walk round the loch. Let's say if I turn it round, there's some really nice views that we're getting here. All the mud in front of us. So I was taking some low down shots of an old tree root in the mud, and what I'll do is I'll share those images with you just now. Alright, so as I keep walking round the loch, if you look in there, I don't know if this wee camera can pick it up, but there's some really nice light in there. But yeah, I'll keep walking round and I'll catch up when I see a composition. Right, so I've been walking around, I've just seen a wee quick grab shot. I know a grab shot doesn't quite go right with a tripod, but I've got the two islands here and I've got an opening in the bushes because it's quite tight this side of the loch as I walk around. There's not a lot of space to get through, but this gap, I've got the hills in the background, I've got the trees, but what I really wanted to get was the wall. So you walk along the wall normally, which is, yeah, it's a path, but now we can clearly see the wall because the water's so low. It's quite interesting, so I'll take a couple of other shots and I'm going to zoom in and I'll share those quick grab shots with you now. Alright, so I'll keep walking. I'm just, actually, do you know, I've been here a number of times and I've only really ever spent a lot of time at the foot of the loch. I've never actually walked around the whole loch. So what I'm doing is I'll make my way up. I'm actually not quite sure how long it takes, but I'll make my way up. Oh, I've just seen a nice wee composition. So there you're there. So what we've got is the island. We've got some of these bushes in the bottom, but we've got that little outlet of land going towards the trees. So the clouds are getting really, really dark and there's a bit of a spit of rain. So I'll take a quick grab shot and I'll share that image with you when I'm finished. Alright, so as I'm walking down, I see another platform here, and again, oh, you get a nice view down the bottom of the loch. And if I just eke myself out a little bit, there you go, you can see the top of the loch. Oh wow, that's pretty cool. Right, so what I might do is take a couple of shots for this angle, because that's a view I've never seen before and probably unlikely to see again. And I'll take a shot that direction because there's more and more mud around the loch edges here, because it's obviously the water level hasn't quite started to fill up that quick. Right, I'll get cracking, I'll take these shots and I'll share those images with you now. Right, so I've just nipped down to the edge of where the water normally is, but you know, some of these pictures aren't really photogenic, but to be fair, it's actually a record of history, because this, well, as I said earlier, this I've never ever seen. But what I'm trying to do is I'm just going to use all the scragginess of all the rocks, all the old tree stumps that are lying submerged that you wouldn't normally see. But I've got the Pappy Glencoe in the background as well, so that's really, really nice. I'm just going to do a quick exposure compensation there, and then that way I can get the the way I want it, just in case I need it. Now what I'll do is I'll just turn the camera around to the left a little bit, and I'll just get a different composition so that I've got the pap on my top right hand side, and if I just focus on the pap, then that'll give me sharpness from front to back. I'll let it do its thing. I'm feeling the sprinkling of the rain starting, so I'm going to get caught out. The rain wasn't meant to start till later on, so, but hey, this is Glencoe, so any weather condition can happen. Right, I'm going to finish off there, and I'll keep walking, and I'll share those images with you now. Alright, so that's me. Finally reached the end of the loch. So what I'll do is I'll turn the camera around and you can see the view I've got. Wow. Just as well there's more water that end than there is this end. As you can see, all the debris of all the old tree trunks just lying around. And then what would have looked like little islands are just real tufts of grass. So what I'll do is I'll take a couple of pictures here so I've got a record shot of it, and I'll share those images with you, and then I think we'll start to head back towards the van because that sky is getting darker and darker. So we'll start heading back to the van because there's a bit of a spit of rain. I was going to put the drone up again, but it's starting to rain, so I left my jacket in the van thinking I'll have plenty of time. I should have known better, but anyway, what I'll do is I'll keep walking, and if I see anything of interest before I get to the bottom of the loch, then I'll catch back up with you. I've just come up to another jetty that I've never been on. But we took a photograph of this jetty from over there. If I turn the camera around, we've just been over there at that point at the end of the loch. So, as you can see, quite sad. However, it will regenerate. It was stocked with a lot of brown trout, so hopefully they'll get restocked. Right, we'll keep walking, and let's see what else. That's me now at the opposite side of where I started, and as I walk down to the end I'm getting closer and closer. We've got the island here. As you can see, that sky is getting darker and darker. Right, there's a wee gap here, so I'm just going to take a couple of shots here just for me and the record, and I took a couple of shots on the way down, so once I've finished I'll share those images with you. Alright, so I think I'll finish the video here. It's starting to rain, so I'll get all my gear away, get them in the bag, and then I'll carry back to the van. So yeah, a wee historical moment, seeing the Lochan with very little water in it. Quite, well, it's not cool because it's environmentally not great, but to be fair, it's quite a spectacle. So anyway, hopefully we can make a video out of this. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do, because you know it's free. And if you press the bell notification, that'll let you know the next time I post a video. So thanks very much for watching, and here's to the next video.